12 versions of Linux, one kernel underneath, 12 completely different ideas about what a computer should be, and by the end, you'll know which one is yours. First up, Ubuntu, an old African word meaning I am because we are. In 2004, Mark Shuttleworth, a millionaire who had literally flown to space, used that philosophy to make Linux human. Under the hood, it's really Debian, polished until anyone can use it. A clean GNOME desktop, a real app store, drivers that just work, and a fresh release every 6 months, each one named after an animal, from warthogs to lions. The releases that matter are the LTS ones, long-term support. One lands every 2 years, and each is patched and protected for 5, which is why servers can sit untouched for half a decade. Today it's everywhere. Most of the cloud runs on it. Windows ships it built right inside, and one copy is orbiting on the space station 300 miles above your head. And all of it is free. A Windows license runs well over $100. Ubuntu has cost exactly $0 since the very first day. Next, Debian. Plain, patient, and almost boringly dependable. It doesn't chase trends, because 1,000 other distros, Ubuntu and Mint included, are quietly built right on top of it. Installing anything is one calm command, pulled from a repository that's been stress-tested by millions of servers for literally decades. It's been here almost as long as Linux itself. Born back in 1993, hardened over 30 long years, and it still only ships a new stable release when it is genuinely ready. The main repository holds more than 59,000 packages, and a global army of volunteers checks every single one before it ships. The trade is simple, rock solid, deeply secure, and completely free of any corporate agenda. But the software on it is often a little old. Fedora is where the future of Linux gets built first. Sponsored by Red Hat, it's the testing ground for ideas that eventually trickle down into everything else. It's the place where Wayland, Universal Flatpak apps, and the very newest Linux kernel all showed up years before anyone else dared to ship them. You get a pure, polished GNOME, Linux security switched on by default, and developer tools the rest of Linux won't touch for another year. Under the hood, it's modern to a fault, an immutable base that simply can't rot, with containers baked right into the everyday workflow. Arch Linux hands you a blank terminal and nothing else. There's no installer holding your hand. What you build from that empty prompt is entirely up to you. Want almost any piece of software ever written? It's usually one command away thanks to a giant community repository called the AUR. And because it's rolling, the rhythm never really stops. You update, something breaks, you dig through the legendary wiki, you fix it, and a week later, you do it all again. That community repository carries over 90,000 packages, very nearly every piece of Linux software in existence. Linux Mint is the distro you hand to someone finally leaving Windows behind. It's familiar, it's friendly, and it works hard to stay completely out of your way. The Cinnamon desktop feels instantly familiar. A taskbar, a start menu, the lot. Real apps come pre-installed, and every single update is one gentle, optional click. It's happy on the cheap old laptop rotting in your closet, and just as happy on the new one sitting on your desk. Because it's built on Ubuntu, which is built on Debian, it inherits over 50,000 rock-solid packages completely for free. It's perfect for total beginners, gentle on aging hardware, free of ads and spyware, but it deliberately avoids the newest, riskiest packages. openSUSE is the quiet, over-engineered workhorse of the Linux world, precise German engineering built to be almost impossible to permanently break. Its trick is time travel. Every change gets snapshotted first, so the moment an update breaks something, you simply roll the entire system back to a minute ago. And Yasti is a single control panel for the whole machine. Networking, users, firewalls, disks, something genuinely no other distro really offers. You even pick your personality. Tumbleweed hands you the newest everything the day it's ready, while Leap stays rock steady and unchanged for years. It's bulletproof and endlessly configurable. The only real catch is that all that power makes it genuinely intimidating for a complete newcomer. Kali Linux is not built for daily use, and it will happily tell you so. It's a loaded workshop, purpose-built for exactly one job: security testing. This is the Kali desktop, deliberately dark, stripped to the bone, and engineered to break into computer systems that you have explicit written permission to test. Almost every engagement begins the exact same way, with a single, quiet network scan. Around 600 specialist tools ship pre-installed for cracking, sniffing, scanning, and probing, ready the second you boot. Used right, it's the single most powerful toolkit in security. Used wrong, it's a very fast track to a very real crime. Gentoo doesn't hand you software at all. It hands you the raw source code, and your own machine painstakingly compiles every single piece from scratch. You choose the exact compiler flags, and they get baked into everything, so your Firefox is quite literally not the same binary as anyone else's. Source code goes in one end, your CPU compiles it for your specific processor, and out the other end comes a binary tuned to your exact machine. It's for people who want to control the kernel itself, every compiler flag, and each background service that runs. What you get is absolute control and genuinely faster software. What you pay is hours, sometimes days, of your computer simply compiling. NixOS quietly throws out the way every other Linux on this list works. Instead of installing things one by one, your entire system is described, start to finish, in a single text file. You edit that one file, run a single rebuild, and the machine transforms into exactly what you wrote. No leftovers, no mystery crap. No, it works on my computer. A bad update rolls back like it never happened. A risky experiment gets conjured, used, then thrown away perfectly clean. Your laptop dies, and the next one is identical by lunch. Its package collection is the single largest in the entire open source world, well over 100,000 of them. It's genuinely reproducible, basically unbreakable, and completely unlike anything else, which is also exactly why the learning curve is an absolute cliff. Manjaro takes everything genuinely powerful about Arch and quietly deletes the one part that scares everyone off, the terrifying install. You get a gorgeous desktop right out of the box, a real graphical installer that finishes in 10 minutes, hardware that just works, and full access to the Arch AUR, all with no terminal required. And it is genuinely stunning to look at, whether you pick KDE, a clean GNOME, or the lightweight XFCE edition. It's beautiful and beginner easy, but it deliberately holds Arch's updates back by a week for extra testing, a compromise the hardcore purists quietly resent. Pop! OS is made by System76, a company that builds and sells its own Linux laptops. So, for once, the software is written to fit the exact hardware it runs on. Gaming works the second you plug in a controller. A dedicated NVIDIA image ships with the drivers already baked in. Auto-tiling snaps your windows into a grid, and it's all moving to a gorgeous new desktop called Cosmic. That tiling layout automatically snaps every window into a perfect grid. No dragging, no resizing, almost like magic. It's flawless on System76 gear, still excellent on almost anything else, and clearly built by people who use it daily, though Cosmic is still fairly young. And finally, Alpine, a distro so small it practically disappears, and the secret reason a huge slice of the modern cloud can boot in milliseconds. It's the default base image for containers just about everywhere. Every one of those tiny disposable boxes your apps actually run inside. Tiny is the entire philosophy, which is exactly why it runs the containers behind your favorite apps, and a genuinely massive share of the cloud itself. It pulls that off by swapping heavy glibc for Musel, fat caroodles for BusyBox, and cutting almost everything else away. The entire base system weighs in at about 5 megabytes, genuinely a rounding error next to everything else on this list. They all run the same kernel underneath. The only real question is how much of your life you're willing to spend making the machine truly your own.